Well, hey folks, my name is Brad, and if you're at all familiar with my videos, you may know that my favorite places to metal detect are those old stone foundations way up in the mountains of Vermont. And it's not very often I find myself on a property like this, essentially a yard next to a building that's still standing. But just last fall, my friend and the owner of this land asked for my help to find a piece of farm equipment.
So I'm filming this on my phone. I'm helping do you want to be in this? I'm helping my buddy find a tractor part. And he's like, oh, just swing on the way to the field. There's a big, beautiful house. Do you know when this was built? 1860s. Stop and say, oh, we got a good, it was like an 80 something back there. It was a piece of aluminum. Stop here, oh, 93. And I actually walked away. And I was like, oh, let me come back. And you got to see this. $2 1776. If you're gonna find a Spanish coin from the 1700s, that's the year to find, isn't it? 1776. Absolutely unbelievable. I didn't bring any of my camera stuff today because I thought we were looking for a tractor part.
I know, a silver coin from 1776. I have been dreaming about coming back here ever since then. We finally made it. So if this is one of my first videos that you've seen, I post one of these every Friday. So if you like what you see here today, consider subscribing or just come on back next week. I'm gonna get my metal detector out, see what we can find. A couple high tones here. This one's 91, this one's 91. What is this? Huh, that looks like a ring. Little silver ring. Man, it is very small. So after finding that 1776 silver coin, Spanish coin, everything I find here, my mind is automatically going to go to old, right? But folks lived in this house 50 years ago. So, could be from then too. And I'm going to take a wild guess and say that this little tiny ring is more than likely from that time frame rather than 1700s. Now, the terms 925 and sterling weren't actually used until the very early 1900s. So if you see something like that on a piece of silver, you can date it that way. And this, hopefully you can see, does say sterling. So we can pretty confidently say less than 100 years old. But still a great find. Very small. I'm gonna say child's ring, or maybe lady's ring. Awesome. 85. Whoa. 1 cent. Not the oldest coin I have found here. It's gonna be hard to beat that 1776 2 real. But what we do have here appears to be an Indian head cent. 1909, somewhat of a rare year, and it's kind of crumbly up here in the top corner, but it's in pretty good shape. 1909 is the year they switched from this design cent to the Lincoln cent that we're all used to. And finding a coin over 100 years old, whether up in the mountains or in a yard of a still standing building, it makes for a good day wherever we are. Great find. I think that belonged to. Sure. Rabbit. 88. What is that? Wow. Silver. More silver. Beautiful. You know, I would typically metal detect places that are as old as I can find and places that have not been inhabited in hundreds of years. But there's something to say about metal detecting a place where people lived 50 years ago. The array and variety of things that you can find is staggering. And what we have here is another piece of silver. Not incredibly old. We can see the 925 here on the back. There's also some other text I can't quite make out. Likely a name brand. But I will say I never find so many pieces of silver jewelry at these old places up in the mountains. It's a lot of fun finding this stuff. I'm having a blast. Beautiful. Well, for the most part, my friend has asked me not to show the surrounding area, the other buildings on the property, but he did say I could show you the front of this very old farmhouse, and it is amazing. Now, this is actually facing away from the main road, which is kind of interesting, but you can see that it is actually 3 stories tall. There's like a full-size attic up there. We have the beautiful work around this old door, and look at the size of these beams. They go all the way up, solid pieces, and then if you can see through the trees, some wooden arches as well. Awesome old farmhouse. Well, there is a ton of aluminum cans, and I thought for sure that's what this was going to be. But it isn't. That is a silver coin of some sort. I can already see it. It's Washington. So hopefully you could see just how shallow that silver coin is. One of the most common questions I get is there any correlation between age of the item and the depth that we find it? And not really. Definitely not in fields that get tilled and turned over. But in just kind of everyday places, it really depends on what's going on. If there isn't really a whole lot of leaf litter going on top of the ground, things don't really get covered by soil too much. And this is perfect evidence of that. I am right next to the house, and this was on the surface. Now I'm fairly confident this is it's a Washington. So I'm just gonna rub it with my fingers. Not going to be a super valuable coin, but it is silver. 1961. But hey, it's a silver coin. I don't think I found a silver coin so far this year, so there's number 1. Good stuff. Still not quite as old as 1776, but we'll keep looking. So because of the amount of aluminum that's in the ground here, I've not been turning on my GoPro as much as I normally do to try to capture the whole digging process. And earlier I found this thing, which I should have turned it on for. And it was a real mystery. I don't know what the heck this thing is. It looks decorative. These two things presumably were together. It was a mystery that wasn't worth showing the camera, but I just found another part of it just now. And I think it's obvious now that this was in fact a bracelet. You can see on the piece that I just found there is a pin of sorts, and then clasp here. There are 2 little chain links right here, maybe to keep it closed. Your guess is as good as mine. We'll go with bracelet. Very decorative. Not super old, I wouldn't guess. Probably 1930s, 50s, somewhere around there. Doesn't seem to be any text anywhere on it either, so kind of cool. Old bracelet, maybe. Let me know what you think. Well, I'm right next to the house. I got a really nice high tone. It was this aluminum, I mean, this is plastic up here, so it can't be incredibly old, but look at that. Oh, probably a perfume bottle. Looks like it still got some perfume in it. Yuck. I've got a pretty quiet and deep 92 here. Oh, it's a coin. Well, what we have here is another Indian head cent. And I thought for sure, given that 1776 Spanish 2 real found in the fall, that we'd be finding some coppers here, the big old copper pennies. So far, small cents. But this one, I am very excited about. I already spent a couple minutes cleaning it off. Look at how green and beautiful this coin is. You ready? Look at that. Are you kidding me? 1892. We know very well what the history of this building was. It was inhabited all the way back to the early 1800s. This was no doubt dropped by an inhabitant. I don't think my friend's family, I don't think their family goes that far back in this particular house, but we know who dropped this. And for me, in this hobby, putting a name to an item is always the best part. This is a beautiful coin. My friend is going to love this. I'm excited to have been able to find it.
Perfect. All right, well, it was an 81, I believe. And there's just been so much aluminum. I'm getting tired, I didn't film it. But hopefully you can see here. Indian head cent, 1 cent.
Let's see if we can get a year off of it. Ooh. 1885. Landowners here. And we were just discussing how we weren't really finding anything from the 1800s. A little piece of harmonica reed, one of the other Indian head cents, and then I no more than say that, and boom. Geez, we haven't found anything from the 1700s yet. Once again, I was not filming with the GoPro. It was a mid-tone. I didn't think it was going to be anything too interesting, anything more interesting than a piece of aluminum. And I don't know what it's made out of, but I have a pretty good idea of what it is. Me and my friend were just talking about it. If you see here, what looks like a plunger of some kind is actually graduated. A tiny little syringe. There's a little screw threads right here for potentially the needle. Maybe one of you folks out there recognize this thing. But it does seem quite old. If not the 1800s, at least the very, very early 1900s. There's no text or anything on the outside of it. It's heavy. Disposable. Possible. I'm pretty sure syringes were glass, but maybe there's different ones. Who knows? Let me know what you think.
All right, midway here. Very gravelly. I thought for sure it was so deep it would just...
Damn.
Is it a vintage one?
No.
I hit it with my shovel. It's not a collector's piece anymore.
All right, well, right here at the end of the day, it's starting to pick up for some reason. I've got to leave 5 minutes ago, but I'm having a hard time picking up. We got another coin here. It appears to be another Indian head cent. Hopefully you can see that. What was the last one? This one is 1895 or 6. It's hard to say. That one's in pretty good shape too.
I kicked it up with the tractor.
Maybe it was from the tractor. It was.
Yeah, no, I moved that back.
Yep. Right in the tractor tracks. All right, folks, well, I'm gonna call it a day. Not my typical adventure, not the typical treasures that I find in my videos, but I had an absolute blast. Lots of modern trash that once I picked through, there were a few treasures hiding in between. No more old Spanish silver. How wild is it that that was the first thing I found here and then didn't really find anything like it afterwards? Oh well, that's the way it goes. I got everything I found today out. Let's take a look at it. Okay, starting with the things I don't think I showed the camera at all. We have a twisted up silver plated spoon. I'm not sure what this is. It seems like it's a latch of some kind. This would have pivoted, but I've never seen something like this. It looks like it went into leather of some kind. A piece of a toy gun. This is probably saddle hardware. Suspender, a piece of an old harmonica reed. 12 wheat cents. If you're not from the US, those cents are from the early 1900s. We have maybe a bracelet and 2 for-sure pieces of jewelry, a sterling silver moon and star, as well as a sterling silver ring next to our silver quarter. This, I don't believe I showed. This says play money 5-5. Then of course our potential syringe. And then of course, last but not least, our 4 Indian head cents. All in all, a great day. All right, folks, well, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you next week here for another new adventure up here in the mountains of Vermont.